Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be showing off how to model in Probuilder and use it as a 3D CC tool, do a brief UV unwrapping, and then use our new AI automated generation tools to generate a new material to throw onto that. So I really never have to leave Unity Editor to create some new 3D game ready assets. So the asset that I'm going to try for, I think I want to do like a Viking horn mug. Something like this, and you can see they typically start from the base of the horn and then have moved up and then have a kind of curve off of that for the handle. So it's all kind of one shape. It's geometric but still organic, which is kind of nice. So it has some kind of hard lines on it, but overall is going to be a pretty interesting shape to make. So let's go ahead and jump in here. First thing that you need to do is go into Window, Package Manager, go into the Unity repository or the Unity registry, type in Probuilder, and install Probuilder. So let's go ahead and go for it. I'm going to start off with this cylinder. If you want to look at the basics of Probuilder, feel free to check out the tutorial above me here. That is kind of my intro video that I typically will have folks do. I'm going to squeeze this down a good bit. And this will be the base of our mug. So I don't really want it to be this low poly. I'd like to increase the fidelity a bit. So let's up the sides. Maybe 16 is a nice square number. So I think 16 looks pretty good. Now we can go into the edit tool, grab the faces, right click, Probuilder, select face loop. From here, I'm going to use one of the shortcuts, but you can also always right click and get into the menu here. The shortcut is Shift. So I'm going to go into the scale tool and hold down Shift and drag out. Then I'm going to click on this top face, Probuilder, select ring, hold down Shift with the move tool. And this is where I want to get a little bit more particular. So I'm going to hold down Shift, move up, and immediately start moving over. Hold down Shift, move up, keep going over, and even scale up a little bit. I want even more of a drastic angle. Keep coming up, keep coming over. I think this is looking pretty good. So all I'm doing is rotating between move tool and scale tool, holding down Shift. And this mug needs to come back towards this direction. One more maybe. I think that looks like a pretty good horn mug. And then what we need to do is grab a few of these and extrude them out to start creating that handle. So I'm going to hold down Shift, pull up, scale in, push out, rotate a bit. Maybe scale it in just a bit that way. I think that's starting to look how I would like. And then let's go ahead and hold down Shift and extrude a little bit more. Scale all of this down. Rotate further. Scale it down more. Hold down Shift, move it out. Rotate a lot more. And scale down and in. Hold down Shift, move it out, come down. So you can see it's a pretty simple process. You can do things like merging vertices. You can create edge loops. So for example, if I needed an extra edge loop here, I would click this, right click, insert edge loop, and now I have an edge loop here to start working with. Right now, we're honestly doing really well, just doing simple extrusions and movements. So I'm just going to keep with that. So now we're just going to rotate around, keep scaling, and come down just a few more times, and we're actually almost there, I think. So this is potentially a bit faster to do in Blender if that's really what you'd like to do. However, the key is going to come in here when we finish this in about 40 seconds. And we start to bring in the automated texturing generation tools. Nice. Now let's come down again. Bring this back in. And perhaps I want to pull this one in just a bit more too. So let's select this edge loop, right click, Probuilder, select loop. Pull that in. And then we can come through here, turn on our pass-through selection, grab all of those, hold down Control and unselect the ones that we don't want selected. And then I can come in here and continue to scale this. And I think with that, we can also go ahead and grab the vertices. I'm going to turn off the pass-through select so that I don't inadvertently select a part of my mug. And then I'm going to grab that one, this one, this one, this one, and I think now that we have all three of these selected, I can pull this down. And really what we're trying to do is just get a finished out horn here so that it has a nice rounded tip. I'm quite happy with that. So let's get out of edit mode. Let's zoom out and start to see the shape that we've made. I don't know. It seems kind of lame, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and grab vertex select mode with the pass through turned on. Grab all of these vertices and scale that up and down. I feel like in general, it just needs to be bigger. Let's make sure it doesn't poke into the mug. Something like that, I think, feels a bit better to me. Yeah, I like that more. We might have even gone a little bit too slim at the bottom here, but let's go ahead and continue for now. We'll come back to it if we want to adjust later. So now that I have this thing made, I'm going to go ahead and apply a material. So let me come in here and delete out anything that I'm not using. I'm going to right click, create material, and I'm going to call this Viking mug. Now, at this point, if you haven't signed up for the AI piece of Unity, you can go ahead and come up here and sign up. You do get an allocation of points with whatever license that you have. So I have an allocation of points. I could go up into AI, generate new, and go through this. Or I can create a material that matches exactly what I want to do, and I can generate from this button right up here in the top right. So now what I want to do is leave it at HDRP lit, but I want to come over here and change the material type to subsurface scattering. That is because I would like this to be a bit see-through because it's going to be bone material, theoretically. The only thing that I need to make, and will not make this a tutorial on subsurface scattering, is that I need to go into rendering, and then I need to create an HDRP diffusion profile. I'll call this Viking mug as well. I can drag this material out, and then I can drag this diffusion profile over here. And then we're going to start to see a bit of subsurface scattering as we play with that diffusion profile. I go to generate. So now that we are in here to generate textures, before we go into anything else, I've gone ahead and gone in here and set a few of the maps that say none. So these are the none maps here into maps that I think I might need for subsurface scattering. So I'm going to take smoothness, set it to transmission, metal smoothness to thickness, and perhaps a subsurface mask here. So I think all that's going to work well when we generate our PBR, but that's just to point out what I'm doing here. What I would like is, let's say, worn cream colored bone with weathering that fades to a nicer dark brown bone. I'm going to say dark brown shiny bone material at the top in a gradient. Let's see how this goes. Gonna take the count to 4 and we're gonna generate. I could go into a pattern, but I feel like in this one in particular, I don't really see a pattern that I want to have that much control over this because it's kind of an organic fading gradient that I'm hoping to get. So I'm gonna leave the patterns out for now and I'm just gonna hit generate and let's see what happens. Okay, I like that, but let's see. Warm cream colored bone. This should have areas of dark brown throughout, and the top should be all dark brown. Just so I can get that dark brown of the mug handle that we've been looking at. Let's see how this goes. And while this is generating, just a quick call out that while we are in 6.2 beta, this is all free to use. So please get in here and try a bunch of prompts and see what you do and don't like. Let's see how the new ones look. I don't like those as much. So I actually think I'm going to go with this one here. And perhaps we'll see what we do with the handle. So now I want to go into PBR. And I'm going to generate the physically based rendering material maps. And I'm just going to plug this in right here just so I have visibility of it. Because when these maps push out, I also want to have visibility of each of the textures here. Because when I come down here in the material, I want to make sure that I assign, okay, subsurface, transmission, and thickness all assigned appropriately. So I'm quite happy about that. Now what I need to do is obviously fix these god-awful UVs. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's go over into the hierarchy. We want to go up into Tools, Probuilder, Editors, and then open the UV editor. From here, I'm going to go into the Edit mode and go into Face mode and just select all the faces here. And I'm going to try a few different automatic stretches. I don't love that. And this is all just trying automatic layout. Let's see if we go to fit and then change the tiling to... No, it's really not. I don't feel like auto is doing what we want here. I appreciate the effort that it's making, but it's just not quite what I like. So I'm going to convert to manual. And I'm going to do a box unwrap on all of this. And I want to take all of these in here. Stretch them way out, because for some reason they're not very square. There we go. And then pull this down into something like this. I'm happy enough with that. It's not amazing, but it's not necessarily bad either. I think that looks like a pretty good mug there. Let's get out of edit mode so I can really see it a bit more clearly. Okay, I dig it. So we could go in here and add some more edge loops and make sure that it's all a bit more smooth, but I feel like as a quick game ready asset, that's going to work for me. What I want to do now is effectively make the base of this dark and make the handle of it dark. So I can do that a few different ways. I think I'm going to take the easiest way that I can think of. And I'm just going to go back into that UV editor. And I want to take this whole thing into the dark part of this. I'm going to take it way down. And theoretically, it doesn't really need much high fidelity on this. So I'm really going to drop this quite far down. And have the whole thing exist kind of in an area that is more or less dark. So this isn't necessarily how you would want to sort this out, but I feel like for me, for right now, ideally this is going to look okay. That looks pretty nice and dark to me. I like that. Even has a bit of striation in the bottom because of all the warping it has from having such a miniature UV. We might not be able to get away with that up here, but I'm gonna sure as hell try. Something like that I think works, though it does miss out on the gradient per se. So let me grab all this stuff, bring it all down, and then take this all up into a dark area that maybe fades out into the cream, something like that. It does look a bit better. What I probably want to do is grab these few faces. Bring those down a little bit more. There we go. I think some of that is the lighting. I'm happy enough with that. I feel like that will work for now. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so let's leave that there for the time being. The other thing that I could do would be to go back into this PBR material, and I could go back into generate, go into upscale, and basically do one upscale, which I believe by default these maps are 1K, and it's now going to push it by double up to a 2K material. This is not what you'd want to do on a mug asset, but I think this is an interesting example of what we can get. So now I can click on that, and I want to generate new material or new textures for the material based on that. And once the new textures generate, then we should see that same level of kind of depth and fidelity that we were just getting. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of the UV editor. I think that works pretty damn well. I like that. I think it's looking pretty good, if I'm being honest with you. I could even go back in and kind of re-UV this handle in a way that I think might be a little bit better. But I think for now I'm going to leave it as is, and we'll just go with that. You do want to make sure that you go in and spend some time customizing your diffusion profile settings that we made earlier. It's a bit of a subjective thing in my opinion, so I don't want to spend too much time digging into it, but basically I just kind of play around with the multiplier, scattering, color, transmission, amount, if it's a thick or thin object, and then your thickness remapping. I've gotten mine to a point where I'm happy with, but definitely play around with these settings until you are happy with yours. In case you are wondering exactly what subsurface scattering does or why I've taken the time to make this work, let me show you a quick demo inside of a dark scene. This is a mug without subsurface scattering. This is a mug with. So these 2-point lights that I have above, I'm going to slowly drop down. And you can see the difference in how they act. So these lights are now currently in the center of each of these mugs. And this is what subsurface scattering does, is it really gives you that feeling of partial transparency or translucency, emulating a lot of organic material like you'd see in bone or skin. So that's why I did it. I think it's awesome. And I really love that the AI was able to generate some of the maps that I'm using for it. I'm going to pull the cylinder mug way down. And let's just have it hang out right here on top of this material ball. Now, if I were to hit play, I can come in here and immediately see this Viking mug that I could get over here and start to interact with and play with. And I now have an asset that I can leverage in Editor. Now, whether you're using this for a polished AAA asset or you're using it for kind of white boxing and just prototyping, theoretically, I don't think anyone's going to win the argument that you should use Probuilder instead of Maya for a detailed 3D mesh. I can also do a future video on Polybrush and a few other of the sculpting tools for 3D painting inside of the editor. But I thought this was kind of a fun take on how to leverage Probuilder quickly, prototype out your assets, throw a couple materials and textures on them that you can generate from within the editor using our AI, and start to play with. So the last thing that I would do in here is just select this Probuilder object. You never really want to leave it as a Probuilder object in scene if you're going to use it in any capacity, because having it be Probuilderized is quite expensive to have all of these editable properties. You can also work the opposite way, where you can move a non-Probuilder object into being Probuilder by selecting it, right-clicking, and hit Probuilderize. But just to finish this out, I'm going to right-click, Probuilder Mesh, and go to Export. You can export as a number of things. I'm just going to export as a prefab. I'll export it with the name Cylinder. That works for me. And now I can pull this asset in whenever I want to use in any scene with the material already applied. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope y'all are having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.